Good day, grade 8. I hope you are all fine. I am Ma'am Liza, your teacher in English 8. We are now in lesson 5 of quarter 1. I hope you will all listen to our discussion. So for this week objectives, we should learn how to identify the narrator's point of view. Realize the importance of people's different point of views and perspective, and then stimulate your interest by identifying the characteristics of the bodies of water. So what we're going to discuss today is about poetry. So when we say poetry, it is a collection of words that expresses an emotion or idea. Poems are literary attempts to share personal experiences and feelings. Good poems show images which leaves the reader the sense of delight, awe, and wonder. Poetry is a literature in verse. It has elements such as meter and rhyme, and rhetorical devices such as figures of speech. It is said that poetry predates literacy because it was used for recording oral history and storytelling. Poetry also requires creativity. It requires emotion, an artistic quality, and logic. So we'll be discussing about the poem entitled Nahun by William Charles Scully. So this is the author of the poem. William Charles Scully lived from 1855 to 1943. So he is one of South Africa's greatest writers. He is a novelist, a short story writer, poet, autobiographer, and historiographer. His works portray life characterized by physical hardship and spirituality. One of his sample works is The Nahun, a poem that illustrates richness in figures of speech, one of the distinct features of poetry. So before we start, let us build your vocabulary by unlocking some difficult words. First one, we have tendril. It is a leaf or stem that grows spirally, calling parts of a plant. Geranium, white, pink, or purple flower of the family Geraniaceae. Curlew, a type of shorebird. Thraldom, state of being slave. Languorous, it is lacking in energy. Grove, a forested area. Scimitar, curved single-edged sword. Guerdon is a reward or recompense. So I'll be reading to you the poem entitled The Nahun. Where the breath of the ocean encumbers the air with its languorous balm, and weaves o'er the forest that slumbers the spell of its health-giving calm. There the spirits of peace hath its dwelling, enrich round the wanderer's feet, in the groves where the clear water are welling. The dream fragrant lotus blooms sweet. The lagoon like a scimitar gleaming in the conqueror ocean's strong hand, pierces through the bright hills that a dreaming. Through seasons and centuries stand, whilst the tide with its message of greeting sweeps up from the surf to the rills, and the murmurous joy of their meeting the valley with melody fills. Here, each season, like spring, is a revel of flower and sunshine and song, and leads to the banquet its novel, delights in a wildering throng, as a pageant of beauty with guerdon, of richness to spirit and sense, come the days bearing hither their burden, of sweet for the hours to dispense. Down rocks that the lichen makes hoary, the garlanded tendril blooms trail, to the woods where the wings of the lory, the scarlet geranium strikes pale, over the aloe the honeybirds quiver, like emeralds feathered with flame. With the kingfisher's flange sends a shiver of lights through the depths of the stream. Sweet orchids in shadow reposing, sigh scents on the path of the bee. Bright lilies in splendor enclosing, who butterflies over the lea. Soft moss for a dry red fit pillow, droops thick over a tree trunk and stone. In the depths of each fern brimming hollow, where the moistening sea's breath is blown, over the league of fair woodland and meadow, rich in flowering grass and soft fern, where the antelope couches in shadow, and the curlew pipes over its turn, lie the infinite waters of wonder, man's terror and scourge and delight. The tree with the tempest and thunder, or laugh like a child in delight. Here the silence at midnight is shattered by the cry of the breakers in pain, when the strength of their legion is scattered, and their might is as curbed with a chain. Here the snowstorms of foam, fierce as fire, shine bright 'neath the stars that they hide, when the resonant surges retire from the rock that their reach hath defied. Yet the heart that is weary of beating finds here from its fever surcease, and grip of compassion finds greetings, where the war song of waters is peace, where the roar of the strife is smitten word, is drawn to the chant of the sea. Lo, the banner of peace is unfurled, and the soul in its thraldom is free. The Nahum. So let's deepen your understanding about the poem. So let us analyze it. The poem talks about the rivers in South Africa. So when we say a river, it is a stream of water that flows through land into an ocean or lake. What do you think are animals mentioned in the poem? So we have here lichen, honeybird, kingfisher, bee, butterflies, and antelope. What line tells us that the river is already old? So this is the line. Through seasons and centuries stands. So it means that the river is already old. Why do you think is the body of water likened to the spring season? So just like the spring season, the river and the area around it abound in colorful flowers. What do you think is the author's attitude towards the river? So he was in great appreciation with the river. So do you also appreciate the rivers or our rivers? What do you think is the function of the river in the society? So rivers carry water and nutrients to areas all around the earth. They play a very important part in the water cycle, acting as a drainage channels for surface water. It also provides excellent habitat and food for many organisms. So the point of view is the angle from which the story is told or the information comes. So, do you think that the point of view affects the plot of a story? So let us identify the narrator's point of view here in the poem. So when we say the point of view, so once again, it is the angle from which the story is told or the information comes. A narrator tells the story. There are two categories of the narrator's point of view. It could be in first person or third person. So when we say first person, the narrator in this point of view is one of the characters in the story, whether he or she is major or minor. It uses the pronoun I in telling the story. This point of view provides first-hand information with directness and immediacy. It has setbacks regarding the amount of information he or she can reveal because he and she only relies on what he or she sees and experiences. Thus, there are events that he or she does not have access to and therefore cannot be told in the story. How about third person? The narrator on this point of view is not the character in the story. There are three types of third person narrator's point of view. Namely, it could be third person objective, third person limited, and third person omniscient. All three categories of third person's narrator point of view use the pronoun he, she, it in telling the story. When we say third person objective, it is plainly present what the characters do or say, giving no room for interpretations. The task of interpreting what the characters do or say is left to the readers. Dialogue and short stories are examples of point of views or viewpoints rather in the third person subjective. Third person limited means that the viewpoint is limited only to one character. The narrator only tells what the character knows. He or she cannot tell what the other character think, do, or feel. When we say third person omniscient, means that the narrator knows everything about the story. He or she can tell what the characters are thinking, doing, and feeling, as well as interpret their behaviors and experiences. So that would be all for our lesson for this week. I hope you understand the poem Nahon and also the viewpoint of the author. So for your activities or homework for this week, on a short bond paper, draw the Nahon River based on the descriptions and imagery used in the poem. Color it and staple, glue, or tape it in your album or portfolio. Remember, you have your own album and portfolio in our subject. It must have a 1/2 inch border on all sides. So once again, thank you, grade 8, and God bless.